right now the sun is out and just a few passing clouds. The birds are chirping, so keep an eye to the sky later on for some of those pop-up showers and storms.
I can feel some of the humidity in the studio. My hair is already falling, Scott, but you know, we'll deal with it. Thank you so much. 8:32, from teacher to volunteer to business owner. This next guest says her business is a tribute to her childhood, her parents, and life lessons that she's learned. And now she's using her business to give back, helping with race relations and marginalization. Kimberly McGlonn, founder and CEO of Grant Blvd, joins us this morning. Kim, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Lauren.
So take me back to 2677 Grant Blvd. What happened there that is still a part of your life and changed you so much?
I think everything that helped to set up my perspective on the world. The story there is of a family of middle-class people, postal workers, who were really actively involved in the Black community on the north side of Milwaukee and food activism and spending time with women who were incarcerated. And that was a big part of my life there. And the other part was what happens when families collapse, and poverty is something that kids have to figure out how to navigate. And that collective experience frames everything about the way I see what we're up against as a country.
So Kim, you really can speak to the fact that people say what you learn at home travels and stays with you for the rest of your life.
Yes, what you learn, what you observe, what you have to figure out, all of those things, they define how all of us move through the world. Certainly they define how I move through the world.
And you understand that influence, certainly, because you're a teacher by title. Some of those lessons in your classroom have sort of inspired you in real life, specifically as it relates to incarceration. So you started volunteering. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I was teaching high school English, and I started volunteering at Books Through Bars in West Philly after watching Ava DuVernay's Netflix film in 2016-13. And that volunteer experience led me to have a different kind of insight into how incarceration, mass incarceration, impacts people, particularly their struggle to figure out how to find peace and then how to find self-improvement.
So that lesson from teaching and then through volunteerism helped you to become a business owner, and you wanted to create jobs specifically for women. So here's Grant Blvd.
So here's Grant Blvd. Yeah, the ambition of my sustainable apparel brand is to figure out how to create some pathways to sustainable employment, fair wage employment for women, particularly who are formerly incarcerated. You know, when women come home from prison, which 95% of people do, they face a lot of barriers in terms of discrimination and access and inavailability to even get training. And I wanted to figure out how to close that gap. So that's what Grant Blvd does. We take fabrics that already exist, and we use fabric as a pathway for women who are looking for their way back into the community, into their families.
And I know that a lot of businesses right now are struggling because of the coronavirus pandemic. That affected you. You were supposed to open in March. You're still going to open.
We are still opening. So Philadelphia can come and find us on 36th and Lancaster. Early July, our hope, we're aspiring to about July the 5th. So We'll see. You know, there's been a lot of delays between the unrest and between COVID delays. So we're going to figure out how to get the space opened up. We just finished a beautiful mural, which will kind of ground this space. We're really excited to bringing people in for a really intimate shopping experience.
What do you hope people from Philadelphia walk away with once they come into your store and walk out? What's the experience you want them to feel?
Wow, I want them to feel like they've walked into a space with a collapsed sense of hierarchy that's radically inclusive. Our community is incredibly diverse, and I hope that they see that sustainable fashion can be fun and playful, colorful and bright, and that we give them a sense of optimism about the way forward.
I read somewhere, because one of our viewers actually told me about your story, Kimberly. So I read somewhere about your life and just being, you know, a mom, a Black woman, a divorcee. You've just had a lot of experiences, and just voices at the table are so important because of those experiences.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that if we're going to really figure out how to solve what we're up against as a country, we're going to need to see things from a new altitude. And that's why it's so important. It's a pivotal, pressing time to figure out how we're going to elevate the voices of people who are very clear about how the intersectional experiences of their lives informs their ability to see how we can solve the things that we know are huge problems, and particularly justice, environmental justice and social justice.
Well, girlfriend, keep teaching, keep volunteering, keep promoting, and doing all the great work. I look forward to coming to see your store when we can get things back open.
I can't wait to see you and to see your audience. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us.